All right. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to dive into unlocking the power of iMIS through Power Automate. If you do have any questions, once again, feel free to put those in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll address those as they come up. I am JT Fiedler. I'm the product and sales advisor here, and I'm joined today by my favorite demo partner, Doug Morris, who is the founder and chief product officer here, and Jake Berge, who is the principal software engineer at CSI, who's the lead architect kind of behind Power Automate and is our Power Automate guru. So quick agenda, we're kind of going to go into the benefits of automation. Obviously, in today's world, we're hearing a lot about automation and how it can save you time. So it gives you more ability for you to focus on important tasks and things like that. Then we'll dive into what is Power Automate and what you can actually do with iMIS through the Power Automate platform. Then we'll walk through a live example of how you can integrate iMIS with various third parties. But I'm going to pass it over to Doug to kind of talk about the advantages of automation.
Thanks, JT. JT actually found this slide. McKinsey created it. And I kind of love it. You know, we hear so much about AI, and JT's even going to touch on AI here in a minute. We hear so much about AI, but the fact is that our automation, especially in our day-to-day jobs, really can have a huge impact today. These stats kind of speak for themselves. I love that 30% of what we do could be automated. I'm a typical person where I'll just send out 17 emails and everyone's a little different and whatnot, and I could have automated it in about half the time. So this is it's a good reminder. If you automate, you can reuse it. If you automate it, you're going to have fewer mistakes. And if you automate it, you can enjoy your holiday time more as well. Another sort of thing, in terms of Power Automate, really, we love Power Automate because if you're a Microsoft shop, and what's a Microsoft shop? Well, gosh, you use Outlook, use that thing called Excel, use Word. If you are a Microsoft shop doing that, this is a Microsoft product. And so it allows you to do these automations quickly. We talked about the efficiency, and then JT's going to show you some stuff with workflows. And while he did a nice shout out to Jake, and Jake is really, 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 really good, I'd say JT might be our Power Automate expert here at CSI. And everything he did, he came into my office a little while ago, and he's going to bring it up, and he's like, this really was not hard at all. And because what happened was about a week or two ago when we got ready for this, I said, here's everything I think would be cool to show. Go figure it out. And he did it. And I'm really excited about what he's about to show you. So here's the other cool thing. Remember, if you're a Microsoft shop, you might already have Power Automate, depending on what licensing you have. So you can check with your IT folks, or if you are the IT person, you can check into that. So many things you can do today, even without the iMIS connector. They're up on the screen. And if you just typed in the Google Explore Power Automate templates, you can see some cool stuff out there. Jake's a huge Chat GPT person. He would tell you, ask Chat GPT to create a Power Automate flow for you if you have it, and it'll probably do all the work for you. Which reminds me, I could probably just get rid of JT and just use Chat GPT for that, but I need him to present this stuff. So, but really some cool stuff that's out there. And what I love this, I'm so excited about a year and a half ago when it came out. You just go to Microsoft's site and say, hey, what do you connect to, Microsoft? And boom, iMIS comes up. And so that's the connector we were able to write. And then if you have that, there's over 1,000 different things. Microsoft makes it really hard to count how many connectors they have. But a great example we had recently is a client of ours. Their foundation put in a thing called Razor's Edge. It's a fundraising package, and that's great. And we were able to use the Power Automate connector to synchronize iMIS and Razor's Edge. So as donations come in, they instantly write to iMIS as well as Razor's Edge. As names and addresses are updated in iMIS, they're instantly updated in Razor's Edge. So all this was done with a Power Automate connector. So what I love about that is no developer had to be involved. Now, don't get me wrong, love developers and everything, but if you have developers involved and you need a change, well, guess what? Now you need to get on their schedule. And so that's always kind of fun. And then you need perfect specs for them. Sorry, Jake, I'm going to pick on you today, but whatever. So enough about that. Let's go ahead and turn this over to JT.
All right, perfect. So going to just touch on how you can start a Power Automate flow. So you have three different kind of core actions. So you can have it be automated by a triggered event, which in our examples, we're going to use Microsoft Forms. And so our trigger event is when someone submits a response to our form. That's going to kick off the workflow. You could have one be manual, so it could be a button that you push. There's an app actually on your phone, so you can have it do that, and you can use it on your mobile device. Or you could schedule this to run, so you can select the frequency and things like that. So one example that I typically show, but I'm not going to dive into it today, is alerting staff members when a large donation is in iMIS or put into iMIS. So when you get a gift over $500, let's get that individual's information from iMIS. Once we know that contact information, let's go ahead and post a message in Teams, maybe our fundraising channel for people to see. And then we can even make it even more customizable to maybe add the feature of being able to send them an email. So from here, you can create this card that is put into Teams, and you can also have that send Matthew an email. So lots of cool things, but let's dive into some kind of real life examples. So like I mentioned, everything that I'm going to show you is going to be triggered from a forms submission. So Microsoft Forms, our first one is going to be pretty basic. We're just going to take the form data and we're going to write it to a standalone panel in iMIS. So what does that look like? So from a form standpoint, we'll go in here, and if I click edit, this is what the form flow looks like. So it's once again using that trigger of when that response is submitted. We're going to get those details, and then we're going to create a panel record in iMIS. So let's go ahead. I will do the first form. So this form can have anything. It could have logic. You can customize it to make it unique to you. In this case, we'll just say date of training. We'll give this a 5-star. Awesome. And wish to be contacted. We'll put no for this case. We'll submit it. That's great. And if we go, I just put the panel on the membership dashboard. You can obviously put it wherever you would like to have it be displayed in iMIS. But if we go down here, we'll be able to see there is the panel record that was created in iMIS. You might be thinking, great, that is going to eliminate some manual work, but let's take it a step further. So from here, we just saw, obviously, writing the form data to iMIS. But what if we can also incorporate teams? So with that, we're going to have two variations of what I'm going to show you. So the first one's going to be very basic. It's just going to post a simple message to a team channel if they wish to be contacted. And then I'll also show you kind of a more in-depth one to have it look prettier, be able to jump to their profile and gain insights into their background information. So once again, we'll jump over to this. I will do a new form. I'll pick the date. I'll do 5-star. Great session, but have questions. Wish to be contacted? Yes. And so we'll just fill in this information. And we will hit submit. So once we hit submit, it will write still to this panel. So we'll see there is that information. But then if we go into Teams, we'll see it creates a message saying who wishes to be contacted. And we can customize this message based on maybe information from the form that was submitted or anything like that. Now that's obviously great. You can see it's just plain. So what if we took it a step further? So I will go ahead and do a new form. Do the same thing. Questions? Yes. And we'll just fill out the same thing here. However, this time when we submit it, if we go back to Teams, we'll see it gives a different display. So it's going to be a contact card, gives the email, gives the data kind of in a different format. And then if we click View Profile, other than it's opening up on my other monitor, we will notice that it jumps right to that person's profile, so you can gain those additional insights and things like that. I'll quickly touch on kind of what those flows look like. So that first one that we saw with the basic one is sending it to Teams. So from this standpoint, we can see creates the panel, and then the condition is if they answered yes to be contacted. If they answered yes, we're going to find their contact in iMIS, and then we're going to post a message for each person that wants to be contacted. This can obviously be altered depending on your use cases, but it just allows you to send alerts essentially to Teams. Similarly, for the send profile to Teams, you'll notice it is the exact same thing. The only difference is that the card is going to have some additional information and kind of formatting. Now, once again, we just saw that, but what if we took it a step further? What if we added a to-do for Microsoft to-dos and created a to-do on your task list? So let's create an activity to follow up with this individual. And I actually take it a step further and I create an activity in iMIS. And that will be on the member's profile. So if we look at what that flow looks like, here is the creates a to-do. If we take a look at it, you'll see it's the same kind of building off of what we had before. But in this case, for everybody who wishes to be contacted, we're going to add a to-do item on my list and create an activity in iMIS. So what does that whole process look like? Well, I'll go in here. I will select all of this information, just put some comments, things like that. And then once again, we will do the wish to be contacted as yes. And then we'll just put in that email. Submit. So now if we go into Henry's record, we'll see that under the follow-up activity, and I will refresh that. There should be a follow-ups activity. Gotta love when you're doing this live and it does not work. But you'll notice here in the to-do, there is that new training follow-up. And so you can put notes. We put a custom due date of +5 days. So you can customize that to whatever makes the most sense for your organization. Let's just refresh this one more time to see if, yes. So there it is. There's the follow-up on Henry's record. I didn't put in kind of the follow-up date assigned to, but you can kind of create a custom activity that is used for you to kind of gain insights and have that be tracked in iMIS. We obviously say that iMIS is the single source of truth, so want to make sure that everything that happens outside of iMIS is captured and tracked in iMIS. The last thing Doug mentioned as well is AI. So obviously, we've all heard about AI. It's kind of a buzzword in today's world. So what if you could use AI with iMIS? Well, I'm going to show you how I was able to kind of incorporate AI with iMIS, and it's going to also analyze the comment left in that form to see if it's negative. If it is negative, let's go ahead and post a message in Teams, and I'll go and be able to show you and get those insights for you to contact them. So let's see what that looks like. So if we go into the actual flow here, it's just going to analyze the comment that is left in that form. So in this, we're going to, once again, the trigger is when that response comes through. We're going to analyze if it's positive or negative. And if it's negative, we're going to post a message. If it was positive, you could have it go somewhere else. Really is up to you. So let's go ahead and once again, for the last time, we will fill out this form. This session was not good. Be better. Or something like that. And we'll just put no. So then when we submit this, what it's doing is with the AI portion of it, it's reading that comment and it's going to give it a positivity score. And so in our condition, if it was over 50% negative, post that in that Teams channel. So here we can see feedback was received. It was 100% negative, and it displays the comment. So what you could do is you could take this a step further. If they said wish to be contacted or things like that, you can kind of intertwine everything and maybe put a view profile or gain additional insights into that. So lots of cool things that you can do. And once again, like Doug mentioned, I'm not a programmer or anything like that. And I was able to successfully set up these various workflows. It gives a lot of time back into your day to automate this. And this is just kind of a little taste of everything that you can integrate iMIS with now. So we saw iMIS be integrated with Teams. We saw iMIS be integrated with Forms, with AI, as well as to-dos. So that's just kind of surface level into that.
I love what they did, JT. You know, you were able to build on each one of those, which was really cool. So imagine rolling this out at your own organization and you build something like this. You're like, well, this is great, but we're getting a lot of Teams posts, you know, that we don't want to see. So, okay, let's minimize that. We'll still write it to iMIS. And then maybe we should still see Teams posts if someone's really upset. So some really cool things. I think with a lot of automation is as you start to roll it out, you're gonna find out that you can do more with it and you can tweak your approach. So each one of these, when we were sitting down and planning these with JT and Jake was, well, that'd be cool. But how can we take that a step further? How can we take that a step further? I expect a lot of this will happen as you roll out these automation tools. And like I said, the cool part is uh, JT just did it all himself. So I do think he's one of our Power Automate experts, but he'll tell you he's not a technologist, even though he happens to be very, very good. So thanks, JT. That was awesome.
Yes. And one thing I like to mention before we kind of open it up for questions and comments is that, like Doug mentioned, you might already have Power Automate access. So even outside of iMIS, you can start thinking of automating your various tasks to give you more time back in your day. So you can automate things. And then the nice thing is that you're not going to see additional bills based on like your usage or anything like that. So Microsoft does a nice pricing kind of model if you don't have access to Power Automate. So you can gain and really elevate iMIS with integrations to all of these kind of third parties. But with that, any kind of questions on the kind of technical background of Power Automate, or even any questions on what you saw? Feel free to put those in the Q&A or the chat. If you found something that you thought was beneficial or something that caught your eye or something that you think you would use in your organization, feel free to put that as well in the chat. I do have one poll question that I will launch just to gauge your preference of Zoom or Teams. So this is just if it was on Teams instead of Zoom, would you still go to it, or would that kind of be a hurdle and you're like, no, I wouldn't really want to go to it? All right, I'll go ahead and end the poll.
Jake is upset that he can't vote. Jake is the team's proponent here.
And 100%
Wow.
said yes. So
Mm.
Jake is probably smiling, and that is good for him.
JT got a couple questions in the chat.
All right.
Want me to grab the first one?
Uh, yes.
I would say that you might want to use MS Forms just because, boy, it's easier, it's free. You can create a link. You know, we're even using it for simple surveys now. So I like using MS Forms, especially because it is also decoupled from iMIS, so I can actually integrate it with a whole bunch of other things. Even though the iMIS Forms does have the ability to call webhooks and actually fire off Power Automate stuff. We just wanted to show just some fun things you could do out there with Microsoft Forms. It's a really cool thing. I believe it's free if you have Microsoft Office, and we've got lots of people use it every day just for quick little forms like that.
Yes, and obviously, like Doug mentioned, if you are maybe more familiar with Microsoft Forms or like Jake mentioned, Jot Forms, that is something that you might be more comfortable in and it's easier for you to use. How does pricing work to add the iMIS connection? So there is a fee for the iMIS connector piece of it. I can follow up with you if you're interested in kind of the pricing and what it would take to get the iMIS connection. So I will follow up with you on that. The next one, the flow is built in Power Automate, different from process automation and built in iMIS. So yes, this flow is built on the Microsoft Power Automate platform. So it is different than process automation. Once again, you can, depending on your kind of your workflows or what makes the most sense, we could have added maybe saying if the comment was negative, we could have sent an email to that individual. So we could have sent them an email with maybe our booking link so they could just right away schedule a time to chat. So you can do a lot of different kind of things.
Another thing you could do is if the comment was negative, you could use the connector to mark the record for erasure in iMIS. That, is one approach to reducing negative comments as well.
Yes.
Not really recommended for membership retention, but it is there. More questions out there, JT.
Yes. Can we kick off a flow based on something like registration hitting a record at iMIS or purchase of a product? Great questions. So today, the iMIS connector has two triggers. So those triggers are when an activity is created in iMIS, have a workflow be kicked off, as well as when an order is created. So yes, if someone purchases or places an order, you can have that kick off a workflow. Same thing if you have an event activity, registration activity, any kind of activity in iMIS, that can also kick off a flow. Will the iMIS connector allow updating fields within iMIS based on changes to other fields? So that is good question. I believe so.
Yeah, it certainly will, but I'd probably use iDMS for that.
Yes. So the nice thing as well with Power Automate is you could, if you do have IDMS, you could call iSchedule jobs as well. So if you wanted to, you could create kind of a workflow that incorporates IDMS as well as third-party products. So that would be something, but like Doug mentioned, it would be easier to do that with IDMS. But yes, you would be able to update fields with Power Automate. And Jake messaged here as well to add on to the registration or like when a new activity is created, as well as when a new order. You can filter those as well. So you can have it look for a specific activity or a specific order type so that is something that you can do as well. Any other questions?
Those are good questions.
Yes. So do you have any clients that have utilized the connector with Zoom? Unfortunately, Power Automate does not seem to have a Zoom app, at least not an active one, so we would probably need developer support, but it would be great for us since all our events are run through Zoom. Great question. So today there's an independent publisher, but it's Zoom meetings. So there is not a connector for Zoom webinars. Jake, I'm not sure. Do you know if there is anything or a kind of an alternative route to connect with Zoom webinars, or is that the Zoom meetings independent publisher the only thing you know of?
That's the only thing that I know of. You can make the API calls by hand, but yeah, that would definitely require a developer resource, as that's more of an advanced sort of route to go down.
Yes. I think Zoom might be a little frustrated with iMIS, and therefore, I'm sorry, iMIS Microsoft, and therefore they may not be actively trying to embrace the Microsoft ecosystem per JT's poll question.
Do you know if the connector can work with engaging networks? I will have to look and see. I don't believe so. However, what I will do is I will post this URL in the chat. And so this URL will point you to all of the available connectors. So if you use a certain connector or have a third party, you can just simply go to that URL, do kind of a shift find, and you would be able to just type in or control find and type in maybe Teams and find Teams, obviously. So you can see all of the available connectors that way as well.
The other thing, a quick Google search works. So Engaging Networks does have a pretty nice API. It looks like you could call those API. One of the beauties of Power Automate is you can call those REST API things. Does take a developer helps, but ChatGPT and Google help as well. Looks like they've got a lot of they do integrate with Dynamics, but not this yet. But I would assume if they integrate with Dynamics that they would be doing Power Automate hopefully soon too. Never heard of them, but that looks really cool.
Great questions. Any other questions or things you want to see or discuss? All right. Well, I'm not seeing. Yes, hearing all of the ideas is very powerful. And if you want, I can follow up if you have specific third parties you're interested in integrating with or something like that. I can help and explore what is possible and put together maybe kind of a proof of concept to see how connecting iMIS and using the iMIS connector could make your life easier. So always happy to do those as well to show you the automation. But with that, that is everything we had to show to you today. As always, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to sales@csiinc.com. All of our documentation can be found at docs.csiinc.com as well. And if you aren't already, we do have a listserv. So this is an opportunity where CSI solution licensed users can kind of talk to one another, ask questions about how other people are utilizing CSI solutions. So you can kind of get some additional ideas there. But with that,
Thanks, JT.
everyone has a great rest of their week.